I think it's we who basically, if you look at it today, you want to go for a movie, you just use an app. You want to buy something, it's booked in Amazon, you get it the next day. So it's a world of instant gratification which we're living in now. But sadly, some things didn't change. And that will be my message to the younger generation. The some things which didn't change is success. Success can't be delivered overnight. You have to work through it. Relationships, it can't be delivered tomorrow. It basically says leadership is like parenting. I think when one says that, it's very clear that you never complete as a parent. You keep evolving day by day. Grounded to the core values of oneself, which I've done, which is like some of the values which I would say that is, honesty, integrity, daring, and agility. And these are some of the things which I feel always do the right thing the right way is more important.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Startuplanes. I am Sonal Pathak, IB associate at Startuplanes, and today we are so thrilled and so excited to have a conversation with Mr. Venkat Rao, who is Vice President and Country Head, Sending Technology Solutions for ANZ, India, and ASEAN at Pitney Bowes. Mr. Venkat is a board director of Pitney Bowes, India, and has more than 20 years of experience in general management, P&L strategies, and thought leadership. A Stanford alumni, also plays the pro bono role of Stanford Seed Consultant in India and APAC. He is an ESG advocate and combines strategic insights with expertise in consumer, telecom, and technology industries to capitalize on new business opportunities. At Pitney Bowes, he has led business excellence initiatives with a focus on client-centric go-to-market strategies, which have helped to achieve consistent double-digit EBITDA growth of the company in India. Amongst stakeholders, he is known as an authentic business leader and a committed professional with strong clarity of purpose and adhering to his core values of integrity, agility, grit, and passion. A Stanford alumnus, Venkat is an active contributor as a speaker and participant in industry conversations. Prior to joining Pitney Bowes, Mr. Venkat worked with amazing teams at Xerox, Tata, and Canon India, with responsibilities spanning general management, product management, sales, and strategic planning. So, without any further delay, let's welcome this brilliant personality on our platform. Hello, sir, and very welcome to Startuplanes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks a lot.
The pleasure is all ours, sir. So, sir, would you like to tell us more about yourself? How has been your journey so far?
Yeah, so probably I think as you said it enough in your introduction, I have around 20 years of experience, close to 2 decades plus of experience. And for the last 10 plus years or close to 15 years, I've been playing a leadership role I've been in. So, and to start with, in my current role, I'm basically working as a vice president and country head for the India, ANZ, and the ASEAN geographies. Basically comes as the responsibility of the P&L, which is the top line and the bottom line. And adding to that, which is also a passionate subject for me, I am responsible for the strategy, people, and culture in this geography in this company. And I have a bit about my experience. I think the whole of leadership experience, which I actually spoke about, is basically industry agnostic. I was never confined to one particular industry, and honestly, that gave me an opportunity to learn. So in a way, I didn't have the baggage of unlearning. All I had to learn is and jump in and learn about the new stuff from the team and the people over there, and that's been a bit about it. And but some of the milestones, yes, I think I have been fortunate enough, if I have to say, to work with some of the wonderful teams across multinational organizations like Canon, Telecom, and then in Telecom with Tata, and then with Xerox and various other stuff. The journey has been pretty encouraging, I think, but all along the common thread with an industry agnostic experience, if I were to talk about, has been around people and culture, and that's basically made me, help and enrich my leadership skills, which proved to be a better one. It's more of learning from whichever environment and the teams I was present in and giving back to them. So that's been the mantra of whatever my journey has been.
That was really inspiring to hear, sir. And thank you so much for sharing this with us. So going forward, so let me ask you, if have you ever gone through a difficult phase in your life? And if you did, how did you come out of that phase?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. So the you will have this, the 20 years has been enriching and pretty learning, but it was never less than arduous. It will be an arduous journey, and I wouldn't call it difficult, but an arduous, painful, but at the same time enriching kind of journey. And there were many moments. There were many moments across various industries which I worked in. Well, let it be some of the digital camera sections in the camera in Canon during my tenure in Canon, or during the telecom days where I worked with Tata Tele Services of the current role which I'm in. I think there have always been strenuous times and paths which we encountered. And the way I looked at them has always been that there were opportunities which were presented in those difficult. It sounded or to be viewed like a difficult situation, but in reality, they were all opportunities. And there were many, but I think I'll just take a couple of them, just which are more relevant, and anybody can resonate with them when I say that. Tata Telecom, when I was playing in Amman, we had a vertical which is called as a pay telephony business. If you remember the STD booth days, that was every nook and corner, like you have this digital payments QR codes, those STD booths used to be there. And within a span of 1 year, the prepaid market rose and this became like insignificant. It was difficult to find and pay telephony booth. Now that was a challenge. So which I'm talking about is challenge from a business perspective, because I'm talking about some multi-million revenue literally become near zero just in a span of 12, 13 months. Now, but that we looked at it as an opportunity. We said that we grew in the rural area.
There was a slight pause, but
That's been one. And the other one in the current domain in Pitney Bowes. Pitney Bowes has been one of the, we are a 100-year-old company, more than 100 years. And for 100 years, we remain relevant only because we've been reinventing time and again and remaining relevant to the current times. And the classic challenge which is happening, a core business is a mailing business, and that's declining. Now, what you do is, you know that it's declining at the rate of 6%, 7%, wait and stay for it so that it becomes zero, or you do something about it. That's an opportunity what we found. We found out some adjacencies within related to the same thing, because a mail basically works through a mail meter. Now we use the same mail meter, but added a different application and went on to the adjacent segments like the revenue departments of Government of India, aligning to the Digital India Initiative Government of India. So I can boast about that our solution now basically helps the government in collecting the revenue during the stamp pending process. So we work in a way to help facilitate the revenue collection for the revenue departments of the state government and central government. This is an homegrown innovation specific to India, which is more relevant to the Digital India Initiative. So in a way, if you look at it, it's a problem of declining mail, which has been addressed, and it's been answered in a different manner by foraying into the adjacencies. And same in shipping on that context. I think the mail is declining, but to be private, we work predominantly with the post, and one such example is Australia Post and the India Post. And now the growth for all these entities is in the parcel. So we are also playing a relatively vital role in the parcel shipping area. That's how we encountered this, and which is why, coming back to the same point, rather than there was tough times, odious times, but they were presented as challenges, but in reality, they were all opportunities.
So let me ask you that whenever you go through a difficult phase, what is it that goes through your mind? Like nowadays we can see, especially in the Gen Z, that people are like really mentally weak. Like whenever they get through difficult phase, they are more prone to depression and all those things. So what is your message to those people who are like they like give up very easily? How should they think whenever they went through such a phase?
I think let me answer it in a different way. That one, I think partly the earlier generation, which is our generation or probably even before generation, are in a way responsible for this behavior. When I say that, I think it's we who basically, if you look at it today, you want to go for a movie, you just use an app. You want to buy something, it's booked in Amazon, you get it the next day. So it's a world of instant gratification which we're living in now. But sadly, some things didn't change. And that will be my message to the younger generation. The some things which didn't change is success. Success can't be delivered overnight. You have to work through it. Relationships, it can't be delivered tomorrow. It was the same for me. It is the same probably for my next generation or whatever it is. And trust. trust is something you got to spend some time having some kind of relationship, and then it boils down and then emerges as trust. But I think this is my message to the younger generation would be that please do understand things have changed. Instant gratification, it's like a world of jiffy. You order something, you get something, you just on a swipe, you get the things. But some of the core things of human lives haven't changed. They still need that kind of patience, tenacity, and resilience, and you need to practice that. You need success. Yes, I understand you go to the best B school, but you need to have this resilience and tenacity and the hard work to reach that milestone. Same thing in trust. You got to have that working relationship with somebody, with a friend, with colleagues, employees, and then you get it. So that would be my message there. So it's a world of instant gratification, but it's sad and true, and also the good. Some of the good things in life, it still remain the same way they are. The mantra is same, whether it's for earlier generation or the current generation.
I'm really happy that I asked you this question, because the perspective that you just gave, that you just gave, sir, it just blew my mind. Like I've never thought of it in that way. So I'm really happy that I asked this question, and thank you so much for answering it. And I hope that everyone who is answering, who is like listening to this conversation, they would definitely, learn a lot from it.
Thank you. And then I said this only from a perspective. Let's say, Arjun, I remember going to a movie theater and then taking the tickets. But today, I might not even want to go there because I'm habituated for just a swipe and an app. But sadly, there are some things you got to be there. And I'm nothing to blame the younger generation because they haven't seen any of those audience things. You're asking them to have patience for success and hard work, but that's the reality. So there's no shortcuts there.
Definitely, sir. Definitely. Thank you so much. Can't agree anymore. So sir, now as you just asked about mantra, so let me ask you, like, what's the success mantra? Can you share? Like, is there any particular quote that you carry with yourself?
So one of the things, if I have to, two things probably. One, I'll take a quote. I think it's from Shaman Sheikh, which basically says leadership is like parenting. I think when one says that, it's very clear that you never complete as a parent. You keep evolving day by day. Same thing in leadership. I think there is nothing like he's a best leader. That best leader is something which keeps evolving day to day. As you know, as you asked a question about this Gen Z, let's say, which is saying about it. Now, that's again a challenge. So you need to adapt and understand why are they coming from that perspective and do it. So that is one of the things which I'm constantly aware of it and working on the fact that once you get a title, your journey of leadership is not complete. In fact, it starts then. And then it's evolving just like your parent. How much ever you think the challenges of parenting and the opportunities of parenting are as many as you grow up. It's a different thing handling a toddler. It's a different thing a teenager. It's a different thing once they grow up. So that's an ever evolving thing. That's one of the things. And probably if you ask me the mantra, which I've been practicing for the last, let's say 10 years, I might say is that I'm seeing practicing because this is something I heard and then learned at some other places. And I thought that it's making a lot of sense in the current new generation and new times, which is mixing levity and purpose. When I say mixing levity with purpose, it's important to be anchored on the purpose. Let's say if you have to drive a profitable revenue, I think you need to be very clearly anchored on the goal as a leader there. And then it does not mean that you have to be serious about it. You can always be, more humorous and more encouraging and more creative. And if you bring in the levity, what I've realized, especially with the younger generation, that harnesses their creative view and it comes out the creative stuff. They will bring out very different many tangent of ideas, which will, basically take care of the purpose, which is why I'm saying that being anchored with purpose and driven with levity or fueled with humor or levity is what I would say is a mantra, which is working for me. And that's what I'm strongly advocating for the new age leaders.
Definitely, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Now, sir, coming to your professional front, can you please share that how important is it to keep yourself updated? And how do you keep yourself updated?
I think the answer for that I would say to start with is that one of the things, the company where I'm working currently, Pitney Bowes, we have been a 100-year-old company. How did we remain a 100-year-old company and survive is because you always keep yourself upgrading and remain relevant. More than upgrading, it's important to be relevant for the folks who are around you. It should matter to you. That's how it is. So I value that a lot. And how do I keep that? Obviously, I do that more because one is a self-learning, which we do by books and various readings and the material. But the biggest learning comes from interacting with interacting with the industry at large. And I'm saying the industry at large, I'm not specifically talking to the senior thought leaders. Yes, that's needed to do the networking in those sessions and all the stuff. But equally important is the various generation differences which are having and listen their perspectives. I think that's what it's important to have those conversations more often, which is what I do, and encourage and participate in those at basically embracing diversity, if I'm allowed to say, at different geographies. Like I run also Australia as a business for Pitney Bowes, but then it is a moment of pride for us to say that we would be, it's a completely diverse environment. We have 17 plus employees from 17 plus countries working over there in our office. So imagine how beautiful that is. The perspectives are different, ideas are different, and that is what I would strongly advocate. Embrace diversity and then engage more often for networking. And networking is often misconstrued. When you say networking, it has to be CXO networking. No, need not be. Networking with your employees, with any of the folks at any level. Some of the ideas come up from, grad student, somebody jumped in, and a fresh management graduate who jumped on and probably his first day can also give you a spark of an idea which can happen. So that's what I would say is more important is engage, I think, and that's how we keep ourselves updated and know what's happening around the stuff and discuss about it. I think everybody is talking about the AI and the stuff now. I mean, it need not be only experts you need to talk about it. What is the thing? What are the freshest thing about it? And kind of thing. I think that's really going to be helpful. And I would strongly advocate networking from that perspective and be open for ideas. That's a fundamental thing.
Thank you so much for answering that, sir. So if you can say, how can your followers become like you? Someone who looks at you and gets really inspired and thinks like, no, this is the personality that I would also like to develop in myself. So what should he do?
So the answer for that probably, I think I'm again saying what worked basically for me is that I think there is something called as, we got to be pretty much grounded to the core values of oneself, which I've done, which is like some of the values which I would say that is, honesty, integrity, daring, and agility. And these are some of the things which I feel always do the right thing the right way is more important. I think understand about it, because there were many situations which compels you with around 2-3 options or 4 options or probably 2 options. I think those are the moments where I would strongly advocate just do the right thing the right way, blend it into the ethos of oneself. I think that's really going to be a wonderful thing for you to pursue whatever you're passionately pursuing, and then stay invested in your area of interest. If your area of interest is general management or leadership, just stay invested by combining with this, core values. I'm sure one will always reach over there. And one of the things which I would always say is that it's important to find a mentor during this period. They play a vital role, the environment and a mentor. I think, and that can happen in any form. It need not be your immediate manager. It can happen in any form. And there are ways where you don't need to have a specific mentor, but you can learn by imitating various occasions and various leaders at time. So that's all I would say. I think it's a combination of factors rather than saying a single-minded thing which is there. But yeah, the core values which are imbibed in oneself, coupled with the passion, is something which can be an underlying statement.
Thank you so much for sharing that, sir. I hope all the young people who are watching this interview, they listen to it carefully and get to learn something from it. Now, so let me ask you, are you an avid book reader? Do you like reading books? And if you do, can you please name some of the books that you really like, and what were your key takeaways from those books?
I do read. I think one of the advantage which I have is my job calls for a bit of international traveling, which basically means that I have long haul flights. So the easiest option, basically, is to carry a book with you and try to finish one during one of the journeys. And since this is more related to the corporate and career and leadership kind of thing, I will cite a few books which are for us. One of the things which I can talk about is Good to Great of Jim Collins. And the other one which I recently read is more about white leadership, by Jeff Warren. This bit about the book, it basically says that, I think this also resonates with the question which you asked till now, is that leadership is not all about leading people. It's basically about leading culture. So it's a culture which defines the way how one works and why one works. So leadership, for that matter, is not just about leading people, but it's certainly about, driving the culture over there. And if left alone, it emphasizes on the fact further that in the absence of a strong leader, what happens is the culture informally takes form in its own shape and form, but might not be driven to what is the outcome, what is expected. So that's where leadership basically comes in, to ensure that the right culture is put in there so that it's being driven in that direction. So that's something. I think the moot point of this summary of the line, if I say that, is that leadership is not just about leading people, but it's basically about driving a culture over there. And once the culture is fed in, people are self-motivated and they run in the direction and they produce the kind of results which are there. And one of the biggest tasks of the leaders, which is also highlights, is all about taking away the pessimism and negativities and ensuring that there is an optimism which is prevailing around, because optimism is contagious. And I think a leader can do that, provide a proper culture, bring in an optimism. I think people in a way are great assets. They will surprise you in many pleasant ways than one would have anticipated.
That's a very beautiful perspective on it, sir. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Sir, if I may ask you that, what is your daily routine and how much hours per day do you work?
I try to see that I'm not going overboard by more than 8 to 9 hours. That's work. And I strongly feel why I feel that is very clear, right? The way I attack this is basically, I have 2 agendas on my calendar, which is plan to work and work to plan. If you ask me what are the things to do, is just to plan to work to plan. Now I leave a third space, which is basically vacant, because how much ever you plan, there's always an unanticipated expectancy which falls in. So, but my success of the planning, basically, the way I rate myself or look at its metric is, if the unanticipated or unforeseen thing as concerned that it's not being done. So from that perspective, and then I have the luxury of navigating between various time zones, and thankfully the geography where I'm sitting in India. So it's like the evening for me is like the early morning for them. And then Australia, I start the day early. So Australia is 9 a.m. if I start even by 6 o'clock or so. So that way it manages well. But yes, I think I would say that planning is important. And here I think this whole your daily work schedule basically is dependent on the team. I think if you take some right decisions about having the right team, I think 8 hours are more than enough. If you don't take those right decisions and not invest on those teams heavily, then even 24 hours are not enough.
So let me ask you this: that what is your take on work-life balance?
I would say it is the most important thing for anybody. I'm not saying that you need to alienate both, but one needs to have a clear demarcation and time for not essentially family alone, for self, or pursue your hobby, read a book, things like that. I think one needs to have those kind of things, because I think the renewed self there will basically help any person to come back and perform better in the work arena. So I would strongly advocate, I think that is a fundamental thing, doing it there, because work-life balance is directly proportional to the productivity. That's my understanding. I've seen for me and even for my team like that. It's not the number of hours which you put in, but the kind of balance which exists is directly proportional to the results which are often produced.
Thank you so much, for answering that. So, what would be your advice to 20 years younger version of yourself?
20 years younger version of myself. So probably, yeah. What I would say, I think one of the things what I will say is have the courage to fail fast. That is what I would strongly say, because failing fast is very important. I think sometimes the fear of failure basically stops us from embracing some of the tasks which probably might become multi-million ideas in a business. But it's important to fail fast. The reason is simple: any failure basically gives lessons. But failing fast gives 2 advantages. One is it gives the lessons which are there. It also gives you the time to get up and run immediately on the next goal. So it's important to fail, but more important is to fail fast. So that's the single agenda which I'll tell is take the courage to fail fast. Try. Not trying with the fear of failure is the biggest disaster which can happen to one's life. So that would be what I would be advocating as a single punchline. If you ask me, fail fast.
That was really great, sir. I have to say that again, it blew my mind, and something that I really learned it, and I am very beautiful. Sir. Thank you so much for answering that, sir.
Thank you.
And a quick follow-up of that question itself, that is there any regret that you have, that if provided, if you have the capacity to go back into time, you are going to erase that thing, like, no, this is something that I really messed up, and this is something I would not have done?
Not essentially. I won't say regret as such, but yeah, there were some lessons which I found, because some of the, to answer you probably, yes, I would have felt as a regret at that moment. But if I fast forward and see the state where I'm in, and in retrospect of that particular thing, I feel that's not a regret. That's actually a learning which basically gave me. But it's quite possible, because in that moment, if you're living in that moment, one might feel it as a regret. And some of the decisions which we take also is like, it was felt as a regretted moment, but the learnings which basically helped us, and the learnings one put up in some other areas and some other projects, basically tells a different narrative and story, that it's not something, probably I might be talking a bit philosophically here, but that's so true to corporate life too. I think you only learn from your mistake, and you only learn from your certain doings. I mean, doing a mistake once is not a problem, but repeating it would be a regret. But thankfully, I haven't repeated such mistakes. So that way, no regrets.
So, can you please share that if you had not picked this career, what is it that you would have been doing?
If I've not been doing this one, so yeah, I think I would not be, to be very honest, I would not be doing very different thing as such, because I'm passionately invested in this. One is life and the other is livelihood. For me, if you ask me, both are same. So the area of business and leadership is I'm so passionate about that particular stuff. If I've not done a job of what I'm doing, probably I would have been as a consultant or a business evangelist in the area of business and leadership, which I do, which is what I think I'm pursuing those passions now. I do a couple of pro bono initiatives. As you said it in my introduction, I work as a Stanford lead consultant, basically help some of the startups, mentoring them and doing it. I've also been invited to be an official partner of the Forbes Business Council, where I get a chance to start up some of the stuff. So that's the area of business and leadership, something which I would have always remained attached, whether it is through a role or without a role. Like my Stanford Seed Consultant is pro bono. There's no title. There's no compensation. It's voluntary thing which I really want to give back to the academia at large. That's what I would have been doing.
So let me ask you this, that would you like to mentor young entrepreneurs, the startup founders? And do you have any preference regarding the sectors of startup?
Yeah, mentoring, yes, I would be pretty much interested. That's what I keep doing. As I said, my pro bono role in Stanford is that, and the role which I play in Forbes Business Council too is that. In terms of industry, it's a diverse view. I mean, I do not specifically, if you ask me, from the mindset which I come from, I do not have a specific choice of an industry, for the simple reason tech is something which I prefer, but not essentially a choice, because one of the things which helped me is being an industry agnostic. And the startup or a mentor, whoever I'm assuming, are into a particular startup because they feel they can add more value in that visit they've set up that particular business or an entity or a startup. So I think what I would love is to wear an external hat and come from an industry agnostic thing, which is not known to me. Then I'll give a completely different perspective, which might help them. Something which they not know. So that is the kind of role which I would want to play from a startup perspective of mentoring.
It was really great to know that, sir. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, if you can please share that, who would like to thank for supporting you in your career and your life?
Thank in my career and life, obviously. I think I've been blessed to have a wonderful family, no doubt at all, family and friends ecosystem which is there. And also from a career perspective, I think I would say that it's my team whom I've always worked along. I think there are a volley of people who basically taught me a lot, because I play a general management role. And the beauty of the general management role is such, I think this is more people who want to aspire to become a general manager, is you got to drive people where you're not an expert in. A general manager might come from one of the functions, like I come from sales. I've been an expert in sales, I become a general manager. But I have to drive my CFO, I have to drive my CHRO, my CIO, and it would be wrong for a foreman for me to think I'm a better finance than my CFO. It's also wrong for me to think that I'm better people, or let's say people skill guy. People skill is fine, but better than my CHRO in his subject area. That's completely wrong. So which basically means that I think you need to teach a lot you need to inspire those people, knowing that you are not a subject matter expert than them and them. So how do you see that? That's where they need to see the value over there. That's where I would like to thank my team there, because if I can, talk about some of the functional areas, it's all because of the team who taught me in my general management role. Then I, value add to their thought process. Then this is the subject matter expert. They say, wow, this is a different dimension you're giving me. I would love it. So basically, I learned from them and gave back the learning to them. And in summary, if you ask me, I think I would also like to acknowledge that I've been fortunate to work with some of the popular industry leaders, and having a mentor, as I said earlier, is very important, and thankful to them. And more importantly, the environment. I mean, the environment, everybody teaches, so that's so brilliant. So all in all, everybody, if you ask me, I think it's going to be my family, team, environment, and the mentors. So that's all, everyone I would like to thank.
So again, Mr. That was really beautifully put forward, sir. Thank you so much for asking that.
Thank you.
So, sir, what is your opinion about Startuplanes?
No, Startuplanes I've seen. I think I must appreciate the work which you are doing as an entity. I think especially a geography where startup is a big thing, and then we have seen enough successes over there. We need as many advocates for this story of startup as possible. And I must say the Startuplane as an entity is doing a fairly great job in that area of becoming the mouthpiece and advocates for these startups. Look, the startups need support from various areas and encouragement from various stuff. From government is doing enough initiatives, mentors do it, but you also need advocates. Some good work happening somewhere. I mean, somebody is going to talk about it and expand and build an advocacy. In that context, I think Startuplane is playing a vital role, and you also help as a platform to connect with various networking sessions and giving those mentors kind of thing. I think it's good. It's a holistic role, if I have to say, where Startuplanes is playing honestly in the area of the startup environment. More so for the youngsters. I think that's a brilliant platform, honestly.
So my last question is, how should people connect with you?
But it's true. I prefer LinkedIn as my primary point of contact, and that is available. And then that's where I spend more on the social media. Is LinkedIn is when Twitter I'm there, but from a two-way approach, I would prefer LinkedIn as the main platform.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that, sir. And so, sir, that's all from our side. And thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedule and talking to us, enlightening us. I have to say that personally, I learned a lot and was really blown out a couple of times. So thank you so much for sharing all your brilliant perspective on different aspects of life as well as the professional and personal life. I hope all the viewers and all the young generation people who are watching this interview really get to learn a lot. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks a lot, Sonal, and thanks a lot for Startuplanes. Appreciate your time. Thank you.